Right. Okay. So the topic is real property companies. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Mana ke dia ya? Alright. So these real property companies is an extension, alright, or a continuation from your real property gains tax, right? So real property gains tax is another law, alright, that look into the disposal of asset subject to RPGT. Kenapa ni sekejap ni? Can you see that? Okay. Just a revision that RPGT, you're going to determine how much is the disposal price, compare your acquisition price, then you have a chargeable gain or allowable loss. And exemptions are given to individual, right? The individual, it doesn't matter whether you're citizen or non-citizen, right? The exemption is 10% of the chargeable gain or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher. And if you have allowable loss, you can deduct your allowable loss from there and then come out to the how much is the balance times by the RPGT tax rate. Yeah, and then if you have loss relief, right, brought forward prior to 1st April 2007, then that relief is deducted against your RPGT. Then you have the balance of RPGT payable, right? So the tax rate depending on the type of person, whether is it a company or an individual. In this case, individual is citizen or permanent resident. You may also have individual who are non-citizen or non-permanent resident, or not a company incorporated in Malaysia. So the tax rate for the first 3 years is 30%. All right, in the fourth year, 20%, 20%, but for the non-resident individual or non-company incorporated outside Malaysia, tax rate is always 30%. In the fifth year, we have 15%, 15%. Again, here is 30%. In the sixth year, yeah, this one is quite recent, whereby for company, even though in the sixth year and subsequent years, there will be 10% RPGT rate. But for individual, now it becomes 0%. So for tax planning, for an individual disposing of asset or real property in the sixth or subsequent year, there is no RPGT payable because the rate is 0%. But for individual here, similar to company, they still have to pay 10%, yeah, the non-resident. Non-citizen, non-permanent resident. So dalam RPGT kita tak pakai resident status. Alright, we are using whether a person is a citizen or a non-citizen or whether they have a permanent resident in Malaysia. Right? And then some of this formula, you'll see that some of it you use the term permitted expenses. Alright, especially when there is a transfer, for example, from an individual to a related party, or for example, individual to inter vivo. For example, we give individual to parents, grandparents, or children or grandchildren. Yeah, so that we use the formula of permitted expenses. So what is a permitted expenses? Is the cost of extension or construction, as well as the legal cost for defending the title or the right of the property. So this is just a revision on your RPGT. Alright, and then we also have the situation where give rise to no gain, no loss. Alright, first is that inter vivo I mentioned earlier. So whenever you have all these things, then the difference is that you have to look into the what is the acquisition price of the recipient, right? So we're talking about gift here means that upon the transfer of the property, the recipient, you don't have to pay anything because it's a gift, right? So for example, your father uh, present you a property, so you don't have to pay anything. The recipient don't have to pay anything. To the father, who is the giver, all right, in this case, he must be a resident. For you to donor must be citizen. For you to in this case, the donor have a no gain, no loss. So no tax disposal of this property to their wife, parent or child, or grandparent to grandchild ni, there's no RPGT imposed on the disposer, all right, or the donor. But to the recipient, even though at the point of receiving that property, they don't have to pay anything, but later when you dispose of the asset, the property in the future, all right, for example, the daughter that received the property from the father, all right, in the future, when you dispose of the asset, you need to know how much is your acquisition price. And remember, you did not pay anything for the property because it was a gift from your father. So that doesn't mean how much is the AP, all right, because it's a deemed acquisition price. So the deemed acquisition price in this case is the AP of the father plus any permitted expenses incurred by the father. So that would be the AP of the recipient. Why you need this AP? Because when you dispose the asset later, all right, maybe years later, then you have to know what is your AP and your DP. Right, DP senang, disposal price is the amount that you pay, whatever the consideration that you receive on disposing the property. But what is your AP? So you have to go back. All right, the formula say that AP of the recipient is AP of the father plus any PE incurred by the father. All right. However, if you do not fulfill any of the condition, for example, donor is not a citizen. All right. So in that case, give other than this, for example, always disposal price at market value. What do you mean by disposal price at market value? To the father, even though it's a gift to the child, or to the daughter, you don't have to pay. You did not have any disposal price actually, right? But it's deemed that the disposal price is at market value. And to the daughter who received the gift, right? The whatever deemed the AP is deemed to be at market value as well lah. So you have to use that formula, yeah, the market value. Other than these inter vivos, give other than this, you have to use the disposal price at market value. Right, and we also have the transfer to a control company where consideration is more than 75% in terms of shares. So we can also have a situation whereby give rise to a no gain no loss, where an individual, all right, transfer a property to a company, and this company, number one, is that is controlled by him or by his spouse or siblings, right? It could be a family controlled company lah, yeah. And on top of that, not only that, but also the consideration on the transfer of the property, in return you get shares in the company in the form of 75% at least. Yeah, I mean that consideration that you transfer property, you receive at least 75% in the form of shares. So let's say, for example, the property value is 100,000. So an individual transfer the property to a company, and this company is controlled by him, for example, yeah. And in return, right, the company give him 80% shares. 80% means that 80,000 ringgit lah, because the value tadi 100,000. So 80,000 ringgit in the form of shares in the company. So 80,000 is more than 75% of the total value, right? So because of that, the transfer is deemed to be no gain, no loss. Yeah, under para 3 1B schedule 2. Right? So again, you must know who are the disposer, who is the acquirer. To the disposer is a no gain, no loss. But to the acquirer, what the DP, the acquisition price of the property is deemed to be AP of the transferor plus any permitted expenses incurred by the transferor. Right? So that is on the company, for example. Yeah. So remember that we have many circumstances here. Number one is that you have an individual transfer to a company, and in return are the shares, right? So the shares to represent at least 75% of the total consideration. Katalah the shares is only 50% of the consideration, that it does not fall into no gain, no loss, because the law requires not only is a related company, but also must be shares in the form of at least 70% of the consideration is in the form of shares in the company, right? And then if you fulfill that, all right, not only give no gain, no loss, the shares, all right, acquired by the individual is known as RPC shares, all right, real property company shares, all right, or kita panggil real property shares lah. So bila real property share, the shares is a chargeable asset, yeah. The shares itself is chargeable asset, maknanya upon disposal of the shares, it will attract RPGT. So bila shares tu jadi RPGT asset, alright, means that you kena tahulah the shares tu what is your AP and your disposal price. Disposal price is how much you sell the shares lah. But the acquisition price of the shares is acquisition price of the property. So kena go back. Property tu dulu berapa dia punya AP plus any permitted expenses, PE, minus money payment. So for example, assuming that lah, tadi value of the property is 100,000, shares you bayar in the form of, the consideration form in the form of 80,000 ringgit in shares, so 20,000 in money payment, right? But what is the AP of the property? Right, AP of the property means that masa individual to acquire the asset, what is the AP? Yeah, plus any permitted expenses incurred by the individual on that property. So all these things comes back lah. You have to go back and revise because we have covered this in your text too. So if you need me to go and revise this topic again, alright, please let me know. Yeah, because this topic, alright, more likely lah will be in your exam. Yeah. And then we also have the issues where you have devolution of asset of deceased person. This one is also common in the exam. If you into the past year's question, dia akan cakap, okay, an asset, a person die and then asset transferred to an executor and the executor jual to third party, for example. So what would be the AP and DP lah, alright, in terms of the tax implication when there is a real property lah, right, being, so you kena tahulah kalau executor jual pada third party macam mana, executor transfer pada beneficiary macam mana, ya. And then we also have the other categories where transfer between companies within a group. Right, so we ada para 17(1)A, 1B, 1C. Tapi careful ya, because para 71A ni bila you transfer real properties, alright, between companies within a group, alright, 17(1)A requires at least 75% in terms of shares. So maknanya kalau you transfer tapi you just transfer, there's nothing in shares, so you tak boleh dapat under 17(1)A. Bila 17(1)A ni, the disposal tu dia dapat no gain no loss. Yeah, no gain, no loss. Tapi must be at least 75% in the form of shares lah, the consideration. Yeah, but the other 17(1)B and 17(1)C, dia tak require shares lah. Alright, only 17(1)A requires shares. Yeah, right. So 1B, 1C tak perlu shares. And then you also have the exemption. So this one is just again a revision on your RPGT. Alright, before we go into the topic that we want to do today, which is the real property companies. Yeah, real property companies, or kita panggil RPC lah. Alright, selalunya kita panggil RPC. So are you ready? Okay, so when you have RPC, nama company real property companies. So for income tax purpose, not income tax, RPGT perspective, alright. A company which is a real property company, right? The shares is a chargeable asset. All right, means that if you own RPC shares, the shares is a chargeable asset. Any disposal of the shares is subject to RPGT company, RPGT. Yeah. So how do you know whether a company is RPC or not? So this one is very important because if company is not RPC, the shares is not RPC shares. Faham? Alright. So how you decide whether the company is RPC or not, you have to look at the defined value of the real property. So you kena tengoklah daripada you punya balance sheet item. Alright, selalunya you kena identify which one is the real property and which one is RPC shares. What it means is that when you say that a company has RPC share, maknanya kan company I boleh invest in another company. Alright. So if you have investment in another company and that investment, that company that you invest in is a RPC company, then the shares is what we call RPC shares. Understand? Right? So you have to check whether, okay, sekarang ni ada RPC shares investment lah. Maknanya kalau you ada dalam balance sheet item, you have real property. It means that you maybe have your asset in the form of real property. And you may also have asset in the form of RPC shares. Yeah. So in this case, if your real property and your RPC shares own is not less than 7% of the total tenure. In other words, I say that if your real property campur you punya RPC shares, total is at least 75% of your total tangible asset. So apa maksud total tangible asset? Total tangible asset lah. Alright, asset ada dua. Satu ada tangible asset, another one is intangible asset. Alright, tangible asset, aset yang you boleh pegang lah. But intangible asset, for example, your trademark, your copyrights, all these things are intangible asset. So for you to determine whether the company is RPC or not, you kena tengok the total tangible asset. Berapa dia punya total tangible asset, ya? And what is the real property and RPC shares. So kalau real property campur RPC shares is more than 75% of your total tangible asset, then the company is RPC. Yeah. So when you say defined value, you look at the defined value of the real property, means that is the market value of the real property. Kalau RPC shares refer pada acquisition price of the RPC shares. Value of other asset, looking at the net book value. So normally dia akan bagi you lah what is the net book value or the total tangible asset, or sometimes they give you a list of asset, then you kena decide what is the total tangible asset. Yeah. Okay. So you kena tengok lah the timeline dia sama ada company tu, it could be that company is RPC from the very beginning. Right? Bila dia RPC, means that dia punya real property campur dia punya shares tu is more than 7% of the total tangible asset. But some companies, alright, given a scenario, company tu asalnya is a non-RPC. Yeah, why? Because maybe dia tak ada property, or maybe dia tak ada RPC share. So, or even if they have less than 75%. But later, when the company acquires asset in the form of real property or RPC share, then the company becomes RPC. Yeah, so at that point of time, then the company becomes RPC. So how are you going to deal with your asset or with your shares tadi itulah? Alright, and non-RPC. Okay, before we go on, right, why we need to know all these things? Because bila given a scenario, when a company has a company is a RPC status, so bila dia become RPC, then the shares, even though you dah acquired, masa you acquired the shares, right, scenario dia maybe nombor satu is that company is RPC lah, right? But nombor dua is that masa you acquired the share, the company is a non-RPC. But after some time, the company acquired real property, menyebabkan dia punya RPC plus real property plus RPC shares is more than 75%. So at that point, when the company has that, then the shares yang you own tu jadi become RPC shares, right? Even though masa you acquire is non-RPC, but now company become RPC, so that date company is RPC, so your shares is RPC shares at that date of the company become RPC. Alright, but later, alright, maybe years later, company dispose of their asset, then dia tak ada dah 75% requirement, alright, because of that, they become non-RPC. So bila you dispose your asset, when the company is non-RPC, so how are you going to decide? Is it subject to RPGT or not? Right? So this point of time ni very important lah under this topic. So you kena tengok, initially company RPC ke tak? Bila dia jadi RPC, and then bila you dispose your shares. Yeah, or maybe you RPC and then you acquire the shares, so of course shares is RPC shares. But when the company become non-RPC and then you acquire the shares is no longer RPC shares, right? So that point of time is very important for you to decide whether company or the individual who have the shares subject to RPGT or not. Faham tak? Faham tak?
Faham.
Bagusnya. Ingat tu ya, Fatih. Alright, bagus. So sekarang ni nak go further lah. Alright. So why I have shared with you dalam ni kan. Mana ah? Sekejap. Banyak sangat ni. Advanced Stats. Ni download jap. Tak payahlah tengok kat sini, Ada screenshot. Okay, buka. Okay. So looking at this, right? Tak nampak lah. Encik Hamdan, nak letak kat mana ni? Okay. Encik Hamdan entered into the following transactions. So this one is from the past year question. I just ambil je tadi. Right? So it says that on December 1st, 2009, Encik Hamdan lah, alright, purchased a bungalow for a consideration of 4 million ringgit. July 1st, 2010, purchased a piece of land in Shah Alam at a price of 2.5 million. September 1st, 2010, purchased 10,000 shares in M. Sdn Bhd, a real property company at the price of RM6.50 per share. So kat sini memang dia dah cakap dah shares M. Sdn Bhd ni is a real property company. On July 1st, 2011, Encik Hamdan transferred the land acquired in July 2010 to Age Investment. Boleh pakai highlighter tak? Tak boleh juga. Alright, they transfer pada Age Investment Sdn Bhd at a value of 3.3 million. The market price of the land at the date of transfer of the land is 3.5 million. Right, so dia ada dua. Satu value 3.3, but the market, the price of the land at the date of transfer is 3.5. So this is the market value. Encik Hamdan holds 70% of the shares in Age Investment. 80% of the consideration for the transfer of the land was settled by the issuance of shares to Encik Hamdan and the balance in cash. So what happened is that now Encik Hamdan transfer land that they acquired kepada Age Investment. So sekarang ni, alright, sabar. And then September 1st, 2011, which is 2 months later, siapa jual? Hamdan sold 5,000 shares in M. Sdn Bhd at price of RM8 per share. M. Sdn Bhd ceased to be a real property company on February 1st, 2011. February 1st, 2011 maknanya masa dia beli is the shares RPC shares.
Yes.
Yes, it is an RPC share sebab masa dia beli 10,000 on September 2010, M. Sdn Bhd is RPC. Tapi bila dia jual, right, bila dia jual in September 1st, company tu is no longer RPC because they cease to be RPC on February 1st. So my question is later is that is the disposal of the shares subject to RPGT? Okay, simpan soalan tu kejap. December 20th, 2011, transferred the bungalow by way of a gift to his son. The market value of the bungalow at the date of transfer was 4.8 million. Right? Required number 1, state the RPGT implication to Encik Hamdan on the above transfer of properties and sale of shares. So, first 5 markah je tapi sorry lah to say, tapi banyak benda nak kena tengok ni. Alright. So, number 1 issues is that disposal lah, nak tengok disposal of properties. Number 1 is that disposal of apa? What are the things now you're looking at? Encik Hamdan dispose. Nombor 1, dia dispose land. Right? Land acquired, so individual ni, land dia acquired tu dia dispose pada Age Investment Sdn Bhd. Right? And then in this case, you have to check whether does this fall under no gain, no loss situation. Number 2 is that ada disposal of shares in M. Sdn Bhd, and then the disposal of the bungalow by way of a gift to his son. Alright, so in this case dia tak suruh, dia tak suruh lagi, you kira number 1 just state, tak mensabarlah markah dia 5 markah je. State the real property gains tax implication. So number 1, right, when the transfer on July 1st, 2011, I nak panggil nama. Mana nama? Fatah. Fatah selalu kena kan? Okay lah, Jamal lah Jamal. Transfer of land. Right? Explain. Mana Jamal ni? Ada ke tak ada ni?
Ada.
Okay. Yeah. Cerita.
Wah. It's very bad.
Okay. Cepatlah.
Belum lagi lah. Tak boleh. Belum faham sangat lagi.
Tak dapat lagi tangkap, okay? Alright. You duduk sebelah siapa tu?
Seorang lah.
Saya duduk seorang. Padahal lah, kalau duduk sebelah-sebelah boleh sembang-sembang. Aiman Mukri.
Yes, madam.
Okay, macam mana? On the left.
Sekejap. Tengah fikir lagi.
Jangan fikir lagi, banyak cerita Okey,
Saya
fikir
dengan
dulu.
patah, madam.
Pandai kau nak ni Tak apa, I tunggu you.
Okey, kejap
Okay, the next one kita minta siapa ya? Imani Atira. You tengok on the shares tu, subjek tu RPGT ke tak? Korang jangan tengok jawapan dia korang tak tahu tahun bila kan? Alright, and then transfer a bungalow to a way of gift. Alright, mana cerita senang sikit. Okay, transfer of land, alright, to age investment. Number one is that he's an individual, right? And then he transfer a property to a company where he has control. Bila has control ni kita kata more than 50% lah. Right, so they hold 70% of shares in A. Sdn Bhd. So in this case, they have control over the company, Encik Hamdan. And in return, alright, 80% of the consideration for the transfer was settled by issuance of shares. So because of that, alright, the transfer of the land give rise to no gain, no loss to Encik Hamdan. But the shares acquisition by Encik Hamdan is known as real property shares. The disposal of the shares subject to RPGT. Itu nombor 1. Faham tak? Okey, kita minta Jamal cerita balik.
Dia individual, dia transfer property tu kat company. Company tu dia ada control. Lepas tu consideration dia consideration guna dengan shares. So basically shares yang dia dapat tu jadi real property shares.
Okay.
Tu.
So the land yang transfer tu dari macam mana? What is the tax implication? Tu Encik Hamdan.
Same.
The transfer land tu subject to RPGT ke tak?
Tak.
Kenapa?
Sebab shares tu dia macam dia punya shares tu yang akan tax.
Okay. Dia ada 2 implication kat sini. Nombor 1, the transfer of the land tu give rise to no gain, no loss because. Nampak? Number 1 is that he has control over the company. Number 2, and the consideration is made up of at least 75% in shares. Sebab 1 and 2 ni menyebabkan dia no gain, no loss. Okay? So that is the first implication. The transfer give rise to no gain, no loss because 1 and 2. The second implication is that the shares transferred, right, due to the acquisition, is known as real property shares, and this shares is subject to RPGT upon disposal. So dua benda yang kena cerita. Faham tak? So cerita balik.
Okay. Sebab dia punya property yang ditransfer tu dia tak tax sebab first condition dia transfer.
Kan? Kita cakap no loss term dia.
Sebab dia no loss. Sebab dia transfer dekat company dia control. Plus second sebab consideration shares tu lebih daripada 70%.
75%.
75%.
Okay. Dia kena dua-dua tau. Dia kena satu tu dia kena control the company dan satu lagi the consideration at least 75% in the form of shares. Dia tak boleh salah satu. Dia kena dua-dua. Kalau salah satu dia tak jadi no gain no loss. Faham? Okay, yang kedua.
Untuk shares tu?
Shares tu jadi apa?
Change to dia jadi real property shares. Kalau di dispose dia akan kena tax.
So be subject to RPGT. Okay, very good. Okay, okay, that is part number 1 lah. Alright, question 1 on the first transfer of land. The second one, disposal of shares in M Sdn Bhd. So shares in M Sdn Bhd. Tadi siapa kena jawab ni? Aiman Mukri kan? Ini straightforward lah. Cepat, mana Aiman Mukri? Uish. Ada lagi dalam kelas. Okay, shares yang dalam M Sdn Bhd is known as RPC shares because the company is RPC company or real property company. So shares is subject to RPC. So bila you acquire the shares, company is RPC, then the shares is RPC. Bila you dispose the shares, company is no longer RPC, shares masih tetap RPC shares because masa you acquire the RPC shares. So bila you dispose, walaupun company is no longer RPC, the shares is still RPC shares, so it's subject to RPGT. Faham tak?
Sana madam lagi sekali.
Masa you acquire the shares on September 1st, 2010, the company is real property company, so the shares is RPC shares. Betul? Right? So masa you acquire, harga dia berapa? RM6.50 per share. So you acquire 10,000 shares, so that will be your acquisition price lah of the shares. Masa you dispose, walaupun company is no longer RPC on the date of disposal, the shares remain to be RPC shares. But once you acquire RPC shares, it will be RPC shares. Right? So bila you acquire jadi RPC shares, so it will be subject to RPGT lah. So you kena tengok lah, okay, you tahu acquisition price you is RM6.50 darat dengan RM10,000. Disposal, tapi remember that you sold 5,000 unit je. Right? So maknanya your acquisition price is 5,000 of the 650 cent. But bila you jual RM5,000, RM5,000 dekat harga RM8 lah. So 5 kali 8 dapat RM40,000 kot. Right? And then acquisition price is RM6.50 kali RM5,000. So in other words, 8 tolak 6.5 lah. 1.5 daratkan dengan 5,000 share. So you punya chargeable gain is 7,500. So that 7,500 is subject to RPGT lah. Yeah. Okay. Yang ketiga, when you transfer a bungalow by way of a gift to son, alright, if the assuming that Encik Hamdan is a citizen, then the transfer is give rise to no gain, no loss. Alright, but to the son, it will be the action price of the father lah. Right, and which one? What is the action price of the bungalow?
4 million.
4 million. Kat atas ni kata 4 million kan. So AP of the house untuk anak dia tu akan jadi 4 million lah. Even though the market value is 4.8. But if assuming that Encik Hamdan is a non-citizen, then kita akan pakai market value lah. Right? This disposal at market value. So that will be the disposal price, will also be action price of the son lah, 4.8 million. Right? So that is the implication. Then you kena compute RPGT payable lah from the above transaction. So the first one ni is the no gain no loss. Right? And then the second one is yang tadilah 7.5 kan, RM7,500. And the third one, no gain no loss. So that's why maka ada 5 je. Mana sabarlah sebab you tak payah nak kira pun sangat. Right? Only the shares tu je yang kena kira. Right? So it makes sense why the marks is 5 marks. Understand? Okay. So dah buat sikit dah RPC ni. Right? So tapi tak buat lagi total tangible asset. Sekejap, I cari je soalan yang ada. Real property. Ni jawapannya. Right? Okay. Chargeable gain sama. Exemptions dia ada ya. Sebab because the disposer is an individual. Ni apa banyak sangat ni? Exemption under RPGT. Apa pasal susah-susah sangat fikir ni? Okey, tak payah. Alright, bungalow is no gain no loss. See, itu untuk 5 markah. Sabarlah kan, ni tak payah banyak-banyak pun. Ya. Okay. The next example. Ya, soalan ni macam ni lah. Dia bagi you keadaan senario. Under the real property, chargeable gain on the transfer of the land. So, dia okay. Right, ni transfer a piece of land insyaAllah to RRSB at the market value of the land. Okay. So, okay, I nak cakap apa bila you buat RPC ni, maknanya I nak tengok soalan yang ada total tangible asset. Okay, in this case, alright, let's see Mr. Rajan Malaysian citizen and RR Sdn Bhd undertook the following transaction. Rajan transfer a house in Penang to his daughter, so that one no gain no loss lah. Rajan transfer a piece of land to company at the market value of the land 6 million. So dia transfer kat sini, RSB is engaged in the business of car park rental, jointly owned by Rajan and his wife, RPGT, Real Property Company as defined in the RPGT Act. So RSB is a RPC. The consideration for the transfer of the land comprise cash of 2 million and 4 million shares of RM1 each in RRSB. Alright. So sekarang ni dia punya value is 6 million. How they do transfer? They transfer cash of 2 million and shares of 4 million. So how much is the percentage of the shares? Berapa persen?
$67.
So does it fall under category no gain no loss tak? Rajan kan dia transfer land kan, and the company is jointly owned by Rajan and his wife. So control tu ada. Tapi 75% consideration in shares ada ke tak ada?
Tak ada.
Tak ada. So bila tak ada, boleh tak no gain no loss?
Tak boleh.
Tak boleh. So bila tak boleh nak buat macam mana?
Kira macam biasa.
Kira macam mana? So you kena dapatkan acquisition price dia dengan disposal price lah. Alright. So that's why dia bagi the land was bequeathed to Mr. Rajan upon the death of father, and the market value of the land on March 15 was 5 million. So bila dia dapat pada bapak dia dulu bequeath ni, maknanya you kena pakai dia punya market value lah, 5 million as you punya acquisition price. Alright, and then sorry. Kalau bequeath dia pakai apa? Father dia memang no gain no loss, tapi dia pakai market value or father acquired the land on March 2012 for 4 million. So ni nak pakai formula mana? What is the acquisition price of Rajan?
Market value.
Sure ke? Mana sikit nak tengok sikit market value? I pun tak ingat, tapi I tak ambil exam. Transfer, ni tak nak, ni macam mana tak nak bagi nampak ni. Mesti tak hilang pula. Alright, devolution of asset to executor or legatee. If legatee receive property in lieu of money legacy, acquisition price to the market value or money legacy. Dia kena ambil market value or money legacy, whichever is lower. Date of acquisition is date of death or transfer from executor. Okay, so sekarang ni dia nak pakai apa? Market value lah. Yeah, it has to be market value at the time of transfer. So market value sekejap nak confirm balik. To the deceased no gain no loss, to the executor or legatee ni orang yang terima tu lah. Right, the acquisition price is the market value at the time of transfer. So coming back to the question. Di mana dia? Mana tadi ya? The land was bequeathed to Rajan upon the death of his father. Market value on the land on March. So benda tu bequeathed on him on 15 March. Market value was 5 million. So 5 million ke nak pakai 4 million? 4 million masa acquisition. Mana ke tadi? Mana? Tak jumpa. Banyak sangat kat mana? Safari. Is it? Ni dah lain. Tak jumpa nota. Mana nota? Bukan. Sudah. Mana tadi nota tadi? Ni macam mana nak tutup ni? To be here. Alright, this one. Market value at the time of transfer. So time of transfer is 5 million lah. So that will be the AP of Mr. Rajan. Sorry. Action price of Mr. Rajan lah. Yeah. And then so that is settled. So dia tak ada no gain no loss. You kena compute lah. The disposal price would be the market value at the date of transfer, which is 5 million. September 30th, RRSB transferred the Shah Alam land to company RS for a constitution comprising fully of shares in RSSB to wholly owned subsidiary for a comprising fully in shares. Dia kata dia dah obtain prior approval from DG the transfer land to bring about greater efficiency. So bila you transfer due to efficiency, tadi kita kata apa? I nak kena tutup lah benda tu. Kat mana? Ni boleh tak nak lari kat mana dia ni? Dia tak automatik. Alright. Apa kita tengok tadi? Alright. Transfer to bring about greater efficiency kena ada at least 7% terms in terms of shares. So in this case, you fulfill lah the condition because la ilaha illallah, aku tak jumpa. Ni apa? Ni apa? Okay, I punya tadi apa? PDF kan? Mana pergi PDF? Kenapa tak nampak ni tu? Sebab this one ganggu. Okay. In this case, the transfer is to bring greater efficiency. So, fully in share. So, maknanya dia no gain, no loss to RRSB. Yeah. No gain, no loss. RSSB treated the land as its investment property. And then, December 31st, RSSB reclassified the Shah Alam land as a trading stock. So, initially, RSSB kata benda tu investment property. Lepas tu, dia transfer jadi trading stock. So what's the difference? Bila dia trading stock, dia tak subject to RPGT sepatutnya. Right? Tapi sekarang ni you kena transfer dulu. Kerana dia ada withdrawal daripada investment property jadi trading stock. Right? The market value of the land as at 31st December, 6.5 million. Right? Soalan dia apa? State with reason if there is RPGT payable on the following transaction. Transfer of house in Penang to his daughter. That one is no gain no loss, betul? But daughter tadi, salah. Daughter ni tadi is again on inter vivo, no gain no loss lah. Ya. Transfer of land in Shah Alam to RRSB tadi kita kata no gain no loss because it was transferred for the purpose of greater efficiency and the reconsideration is 100% in shares. So they fulfill the requirement lah. State the RPGT implication, transfer of Shah Alam land by RRSB to RSSB. Apa beza ni? In Shah Alam to Ini daripada Rajan. Salah. Ni Rajan, daripada Rajan pada RRSB, itu bukan no gain no loss. Sebab you tak fulfill the 75% requirement in shares. Yeah, so that one is a normal transfer, market value at the date of transfer. Transfer Shah Alam land by RSB pada RSSB baru no gain no loss because greater efficiency. The change in the purpose of use of the land and its reclassification. Okay, yang ni kita tengok jawapan dia macam mana. I pun tak sure. So soalan RPC, RPGT is part of question number berapa? RPC, RPGT question number 3. Dia akan ada question 3C. Nak tak nak akan ada RPGT atau RPGT punya question. Okay, mana question number 3? 3A, 3B, 3C. So transfer of house, no RPGT, no gain, no loss. Parent to child. Transfer of land. Equal to acquisition price is not applicable because transfer does not meet the 75% requirement. Right, therefore RPGT dia akan disposal price would be the market value lah. Right, acquisition price masa dia acquire berapa lah, tengok balik lah benda tu. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. This one is acquired daripada executor. Bila dia dah bagi kan, the 5 million tu. So this one is the market value at the date of transfer. So dia ada chargeable gain of 1 million and the disposal is within 3 years. So that's why the rate is 30%. Land by the transfer of land is no gain no loss because para 17(1)(a). Question number 3C. Okay, classification of land as trading stock by RSSB. Deemed to have disposed the land at the market value of the land at the date of reclassification. Right? Of the land as trading stock, which is the market value is 6.5 million. So bila you transfer daripada investment property jadi trading stock, dia macam ada disposal kat situ. Alright, bila disposal kita akan market value which is the 6.5 million as the disposal price. Acquisition price go back lah. What is your acquisition price of the asset masa you transfer daripada Rajan pada company tu pada RRSB. Right? So in this case the acquisition price is 6 million. Right, so deemed chargeable gain is 500, again within 3 years, so the rate is 30%. Right, so this is the kind of question yang akan keluar under RPGT dengan RPC. RPC tak nampak lagi kan? RPC kalau nak tengok betul-betul RPC, kita tengok ni. Nampak? You transfer 200,000 ordinary shares of RM1 each in CK Sdn Bhd. Ni shares. Ni dah soalan lain Okay. CK become a real property company for RPGT purpose on September 1st, 2015. Upon acquiring real property, the value of the total tangible asset of CK is 3.8 million. So dia dah bagi dah. Total tangible asset is 3.8 million inclusive of real property costing 3 million. The market value of the shares on January 2nd, 2018 was RM4 per share. Okay. This one ambil tarikh dia is September 1st, 2015, company become RPC. Masa you acquired, right, Mr. Gomez acquired the shares on July 1st, 2014. So masa dia acquire the shares on July 1st, is the company RPC company?
No.
No, because the total issue share capital of CK was 1 million under 1 million on shares. Okay, so masa dia acquire company nama apa? CK Sdn Bhd is not. Okay, not RPC. Bila shares ni jadi RPC, bila company jadi RPC share. Salah. Bila shares jadi RPC shares, on the day company become RPC. which is on September 1st, 2015. So bila company ni jadi RPC on September 1st, 2015, so you kena kira you punya shares yang you ada kat company tu, kena kira balik berapa acquisition price of the shares. Ni macam mana tak nak bagi? Tak hilang. Alright, you kena tahu what is your acquisition price of the shares. So macam mana you nak tahu? Formula dia, mana nota tadi? Right, kat sini. Alright, katalah masa you purchase, they fall into this condition. When you purchase, the company purchase before the company become RPC. So bila company jadi RPC, you kena tengok what is your acquisition price of the shares. Berapa number of shares you own over total number of shares in the company, and then times by the defined value on the date the company becomes RPC. So defined value ni tengok apa? Defined value of the real property lah, right? And the RPC shares. Alright, bila tarikh the company becomes RPC. So mari kita tengok berapa balik. Coming back. Okay, berapa shares yang dia ada? 200,000 shares. Company as at this date dia ada 1 million shares. CK became real property upon the value of the real property. Okay, so bila dia transfer 200,000 over berapa total shares ada? 1 million. So 200 over 1 million darabkan dengan what is the apa tadi nama dia? Real property kan? Defined value. C is the defined value. Defined value here, defined value refer to defined value of the real property dengan RPC shares. The value of total tangible asset of CK is 3.8. Itu total tangible asset. Real property dia ada 3 million. So kita ambil yang 3 million je sebab kita nak real property je. Right? So 3 million. The market value of the shares on January 2nd, 2018 ni kenapa 2018? Ni 2018. Kenapa? Ke baca tak habis? Itulah tiba-tiba je tengok note nombor 3 kan. Ni piece of land lain. Shop house to daughter. And then dia trot ni. Kita nak tengok shares kat sini ni. On January 2nd, 2018, I rasa tak ada kena-mengena. Kita nak ambil 3 million ni sebagai dia nak tahu acquisition price dia 200 over 1 million darab dengan 3 million. Dapat berapa? Okay. Transfer of shares in CK, disposal price. Oh, nampak ni. Disposal price 2018 ke? Acquisition price tu dah betul dah. 200 units over 1 million unit dengan 3 million, which is the real property. Cumanya dia dispose berapa bulan? Oh, January 2nd tu date of disposal, is it? Sekejap. Ambil sekejap. Okay. Date ni mana? Transaction, the following transaction on January 2nd. So benda ni semua berlaku on January 2nd, tera tak? So January 2nd, the market value of the shares on January 2nd is RM4 per share. So dia transfer berapa? 200,000 darabkan dengan RM4, which is 800,000 lah. So that's why you punya disposal price is 800,000. Acquisition price is 3 million darabkan dengan 200 over 1 million tadi. Mana. Right? So 800 over 600 minus 600 dapat chargeable gain of 200. Okay? So ini formula dia kita pakai kat sini ni yang I tunjuk kat sini. Masa katalah you beli shares, masa you beli company belum jadi RPC, Then bila hari dia jadi RPC, you akan pakai formula ni untuk kira what is your acquisition price of the shares. Ya, tengok berapa shares you ada over total shares on the date the company becomes RPC. Alright, and C is the defined value of the shares lah. Defined value tu refer pada real property campur RPC shares lah kalau ada. Tapi katalah company tu masa you beri shares, company tu is already RPC. Alright, so maknanya you akan kira acquisition price of the shares is harga yang you beli lah, harga shares of the company tu, sebab company tu memang RPC. So you akan ambil the market value or consideration that you paid during the purchase. Understand? Alright. Habislah cerita RPC. And we have also managed to revise a bit on the question related to RPGT. Either is on the asset, on the disposal. So nampak tak? Untuk level advanced taxation ni, dia punya soalan RPGT tak ada dah pasal acquisition price dengan disposal price sangat. Dia tak ada normal apa, ada stamp duty ke, legal tak ada. Dia more likely is from inter vivo ke atas. Inter vivo tu maknanya ada asset, ada property ke, ada inter vivo ke, ada shares in the company ke, all these things. So dia ni advanced level tu. Right, so kalau you punya masa tax 2 tu dia ada it could be the first one tu yang senang tu lah. So kalau untuk advanced taxation ni, soalan RPGT is not that straightforward lah. Right, dia memang from inter vivo ke atas. Right, so kalau tengok notes tu, maknanya notes tu yang daripada no gain no loss punya situation ni lah. Nampak? Siapa nak ambil, boleh ambil gambar Sebab I tak boleh nak share dengan you. Dr. Sawa tak bagi. Right? Tak jadilah pula. Okay dah. Alright. Anything else? Okay, we have about 20 more minutes. No. Sekejap nak tengok satu lagi soalan. Macam mana soalan dia lagi satu? Soalan dia is always question number 3 lah. Soalnya ABC. Ini dia punya komen. Okay. Soalan ni sama je kan? Right? Aziz and John are partners in a partnership, AJ Enterprise, AJE, which was formed on June 1st, 2018 to carry on a parking business. The following transaction carried out from June 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2019. Right, January 2nd, 2018, Aziz transferred a piece of land to AJE. The land was acquired by Aziz on November 15 for a consideration of 300,000. The market value of the land on January 2nd, 2018 was 380,000. So dia transfer pada AJE, partners, dia tak cakap kan dia punya February, AJE incurred 50,000 to resurvey the land to convert the land into an open space car park. June 1st, 2019, following some dispute between Aziz and John, dissolved the partnership. Aziz received the land. Aziz continued to carry on the car park business on the land. Aziz transferred the land to a company, Aziz Car Park, by him for a consideration of 350, settled by issuance of 300,000 shares amounting to 300,000 and cash payment of 50,000. ACSB did not hold any real property or real property company share became a real property company upon the transfer of the land. So maknanya shares ni pun jadi RPC shares lah. But company is RPC company juga. Aziz sold all his shares in ACSB to a third party for cash consideration of 550,000. So nampak tak soalan dia? Nombor 1 ni is the transfer from an individual to a company. Tapi dia tak cakap whether company ni is controlled by him or not. But looking at the partnership, ada indicator tak? Aziz and John are partners to carry on a car park. So dia tak cakap dia ada control tak over the partnership. Right? Satu kena tengok tu. Sebab kalau you tak ada control, oh tak apa. Oh ni tak ada. Sebab ni transfer tu, Aziz transfer a piece of land to Aja. The land was acquired by Aziz on November 15. So in this case, dia transfer je. Dia tak ada dapat consideration apa-apa pun. Dia dapat, dia bayar dengan, tak ada shares lah. No shares in the partnership. Dia dapat 300,000. Right? For ownership of 300,000, market value is 380. So in this case, you kena ambil market value. The second one is that Aja resurface the land. The third one is that dissolve and then Aziz dapat the land. Continue to carry on the car park. Right? So kat sini pula ada pula transfer pula. Aziz transfer to a company. So this one is whether Aziz transfer to a company which is controlled by him. So maknanya tu satu. And then the consideration is 300 over 350 which is more than 75%. So 300 shares over total consideration is 350. So it's more than, it's 86% in shares. So maknanya dia no gain no loss lah. Ya, no gain no loss. And then the shares is deemed to be RPC shares. Bila dia jual shares ni, berapa banyak shares dia kat sini? 300,000 shares lah. Bila dia jual, harga 550, acquisition price dia berapa? Anyone, can you tell me what is the acquisition price of the shares? No gain no loss untuk partnership. Right? Even though this is a disposal of shares, right? You know that there is disposal price and then the acquisition price minus cash received, cash payment on the transfer of the property. Yeah. You must have the exemption because the transferor or the disposer is an individual. So you always have this 10% and or 10,000, whichever is higher. Yeah, so that one is given as a deduction. So the balance will be taxed at 30% lah, right? Cumanya dekat sini, the disposer first Aziz transfer land to Aja is regarded as no gain no loss. I think that because whenever you have a partnership, then it's assumed that each one will have control over the partnership lah. So that's why ada control. Tapi tapi dia tak sebut pula benda tu. Kenapa dia fall into no gain no loss ah? Dia fall under which inter vivo husband and wife. Yang ini individual transfer to control company. Tapi dia tak ada shares dalam tu. Sepatutnya it's not no gain no loss. Nampak tak? There is no chargeable gain or liable loss to Aziz. I'm a bit disagree lah soalan ni. Jangan tengok dia punya komen. Ada komen tak ni? Kadang-kadang dia ada komen. Examiner report question 3C. 3A, 3B, 3C. 2 candidate obtain full marks. Alright. 4 candidate correctly answered that there is no chargeable gain, no RPGT, but did not give correct reason. 10 candidate incorrectly answered that there is chargeable gain. 1 candidate did not attempt this question. Woi, dia bagi by number of candidates kau. Rajinnya dia nak pergi check balik soalan-soalan tu. Okay, 3C1, 3C2. Kenapa? 3C1 ni I do not know why dia kata there's no chargeable gain. Sebab transfer property. Jap, I nak check jap RPGT. Sebab dia tak ada pula individual. Dia kata dia kata apa tadi? Question para 35 Cari jap para 35 tu. Kena ada consideration tu, shares tu. Tu tak faham tu kenapa dia bagi macam tu. Para 35 tu, para 34. I tak jumpa para 35. I jumpa para 34 schedule 2. Ni para 35 tu schedule 2. Para 35 tu. Kalau I ambil para SRPG kau mana si? Sekejap Oh. Apa ni? Oh ada. Okey. $34. Okay, 35. Hah? Mana? Para 34 schedule 2. Para 35. Tak ada pun. Ya betul ni. Oh ni dalam schedule tu lah. Tadi bukan schedule lagi. Baik. Dia tengok schedule. Macam mana nak tengok schedule tu? Ni. Ni apa ni? Schedule tu dia bawah. Lepas. Ini semua section. Ni apa? Sekejap nak cari sekejap. Ni. Nampak ni schedule through. Schedule tu para 35 trustee and partners. Mana 35, 34? Sabar Okay, transfer of asset to controlled company. Ni consideration ni mesti in consider of shares in the company. Tak ada pun ni. Tak puas hati. Para 35 tu mana ada? Para 35 tu. Kalau 35, tengok 35 tu. Oh ni betul lah kau, trustees and partner. Nak lawan juga. Where an asset is an asset of trust or partnership, then in whatever person the ownership of the asset is vested, any acquisition or disposal of the asset shall be treated acquisition or disposal by the trustee partnership as case may be. The price, alright. Where a person is who is the owner is a member of partnership, alright, or become member of the partnership. Transfer the asset to the partnership. Partnership shall be deemed to have acquired the asset at AP plus permitted expenses. Okay. The partnership shall be deemed to have acquired the asset at no at action price. Alright, so to the disposal, any acquisition or disposal of the asset shall be treated as an acquisition or disposal by the trustee, as the case may be, at the price which the asset was in fact acquired or disposed of, so no gain, no loss. Right, but to the partnership is deemed to be acquired at acquisition price plus permitted expenses. So coming back to this, because the partnership, right, no gain, no loss to Encik Aziz, and then the asset is deemed to have acquired at action price plus permitted expenses incurred by Encik Aziz. Right, so that one is para 35 tu. Betul lah dia buat. Kau jangan nak lawan-lawan Dia dah bagi skema tu, betul lah skema dia tu. Okay, alright. So I think that's all untuk real property gain stats. Siapa rasa pening, sila angkat tangan. Alright, tapi soalan ni confirm keluar dalam you punya final exam je, sebab kita punya structure memang dah 3A, 3B, 3C. So question number 3 tu ada A, B and C. So C tu memang RPGT. Alright, so memang confirm keluar lah soalan ni. So kalau you tak faham, baik you cakap. Alright, so okay, please revise this topic again. And then if you have any queries, you can always ask me directly. Alright, and I'll see you again insyaAllah next week. But next week, Monday is a public holiday. Hari Jadi Sultan. So I'll see you again insyaAllah on Wednesday. Ya, Wednesday, topik baru. Topik apa ya? Tak ingat lah topik apa. Teams. Stop sharing. Next week tajuk apa ya? Tengok sikit lah. Tak. Cost plan. Mana?
Ada tax incentive.
Apa? RPC ada tax incentive. Ya Allah, ni yang banyak ni. Chapter 23 kan? Chapter 23, 24. Ya Allah, banyak ni. Okay. Macam mana nak buat ni, banyak-banyak sangat topik ni. Matilah aku. Dah 1 hari tu. Kan 23 yang banyak kan? Siapa buat this topic? Tax incentive? Group project? Right. Kalau dah siap buat, bolehlah share dalam kelas. Bolehlah tolong present. Okay. So there are a lot tapi I will focus only on a few lah. Right. So some of other tax incentive that normally keluar dalam soalan MIPA lah. Yeah. Right. So I think that's all for today. I pun dah penat. Right. Non-stop cakap 1 jam setengah. So I wish that you have benefited a bit. Right. Kalau tak banyak pun sikit. I'll see you again insyaAllah next time. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.